We've got Hosana up in the tree at the moment. He's busy feeding on his impala kill. We had a few little gremlins that creeped in that we had to sort out, and that's why, unfortunately, we didn't get him going up. But he's up now and has started to kind of feed off the back end. There's still so much meat on this that he's got a long, long way to go until he finishes it. He's also got a very full tummy, which means that it's going to take a while till he gets through all of that. I wouldn't be surprised, though, that his dad arrives at some point. You know how he's got a nose for a carcass, so imagine Tingana won't be around. Well, if this stays up the tree for 2 days, might find this too. And obviously his older sister is all over the place, and she could very well also end up in this area. The last time we know that she was with Tlalamba was up on this side, actually. It was not too far from here, and so she could have left Tlalamba on this side and is now kind of marching her way back into this area. It's difficult to say, really. But either way, Hosana at least has woken up and decided to start feeding. Now, the thing is about his feeding and where he is at the moment is that he has got to be in possibly one of the most awful trees that we probably have in here in terms of being able to see a leopard in it. It really isn't very nice at all. And so, Lai, do you want to know what tree it is at the moment? Lars, not Lars, sorry. Lars, so it is a saffron that is in at the moment, and it really is not a very pleasant tree for carcasses to go into. They really don't kind of show very well because they've got lots of little trees or lots of branches all over the place, and it makes it very difficult to actually see anything. So you can see it kind of draped over the sort of main part of it. And while it's a great tree for a carcass to be draped in, for a cat to be able to feed off it and hide his kill away and not make it very obvious, it would have been much nicer had he dragged it up into a marula tree that was nice and open, because, well, that would have made life a lot easier. Now, you might hear a few vehicles moving around next to me. They're just all repositioning as everybody kind of gets into place. There's 2 vehicles that have kind of just joined us to come and see Hosana up in the tree. So Aiden, who's 7 years old, wants to know whether all the fur will hurt his tummy by eating it all. So Aiden, no, and the reason why is what happens with a leopard is they have a very strong stomach, so their stomach is used to eating fur, and so the fur that they can't digest, they will regurgitate, and which means that they'll basically get sick, and they'll kind of come out their mouth, all that hair and bone, and the rest will kind of, he'll just, you know, poop out, and he won't have to worry too much. So it won't hurt his tummy, no. You'll find that he'll be okay, and because they do this all the time, they basically get quite used to it, and they will be able to kind of feed off it, and it doesn't hurt them. If it hurt them, you'd find that they wouldn't really have survived very well, because, you know, that's all they do, is they eat meat and fur. Well, animals that have fur, and so they get in their tummy quite a bit. Now, I can't see what he's actually eating at the moment. It looks like he's eating maybe some of the stomach content that's inside there. It doesn't look like, I can't see, is it the liver? Yes, it is the liver by the looks of things that he's gotten, and now that will be a really good piece of meat for him to have that's full of nutrients. And so the things like liver, kidneys, those are the things that a leopard loves to eat. So nothing like a bit of liver on a Saturday afternoon to make one's sort of stomach feel fantastic. If you're a leopard, it's a delicacy, you know. So it's like when you are having a Saturday afternoon get together and you make your favorite food. For a leopard, that's, well, as good as it gets, is a little liver and kidney action. So you'll find he'll eat that. He'll also eat any of the other internal organs that are in there, the heart and the lungs, and even things like the stomach lining will be fair game for a leopard. They will consume stomach linings because they know that there's still nutrients within it, and any nutrient they can get is good nutrients, and so they will eat all of that. Now, I'd imagine most of the stomach is out, though, given the way this is kind of hoisted over the tree, and then the sort of flatness of that stomach. If you look where his paw is, I would imagine that most of the kind of the 4-chambered stomach that an impala has already been pulled out and dropped. And I wonder, you know, how quickly he managed to get this up into a tree, because, you know, hyenas would have been lurking about, and I don't see any hyenas around now, which means that maybe they didn't even know about it, and he actually had time to kind of feed off it a little bit and get it up. And it just goes to show that even though it's a big female impala, who, is quite a large animal. It just goes to show how much easier that it is for Hosana to get up a tree as opposed to something like that female Nyala that he lost to hyenas the other day. So he's still got to grow a little bit before he can pull up big kind of female Nyalas, but a female Impala is certainly within the realms of his strength, and he's able to do it. I have to say, I wonder if this poor female wasn't pregnant and maybe ate the fetus, and that's why he's actually got quite a full belly, given the amount of meat that's still on there. It doesn't look like he's eaten a lot, so I wonder if he didn't eat a fetus inside this female. It is that time of the year where they are pregnant. I know it's a bit macabre, but it is the truth. So Tucker, who's 6 years old, the leopards, sometimes they get a little bit stuck, but generally they can kind of force their way through. So they'll try and kind of push their head through, or if they get caught on a thorn, they'll just kind of pull until they get loose. So sometimes they get themselves into a bit of a tangle in these trees, Tucker, and it can be a little tricky to go up and down, particularly a tree like this. This is not a nice tree for a leopard to climb around, and you'll find that he'll have to kind of push his head through the thorns, and sometimes his foot will get stuck a little bit, or his tail, or even his head, and you'll find that it's not very comfortable for him. It'll be a much better tree to go and climb somewhere else, but it's a good tree for him to be able to keep his kill and to make sure that his kill does not get dropped and kind of stolen by hyenas. So even though it's not a nice tree for him to be in, it's not a bad sort of tree to hang a carcass in, and hopefully he won't get stuck up there. It will be very sad if Hosana gets stuck. I don't like the fact of thinking that he'll be stuck up there, but I think he'll be alright. I mean, he's been up and down a few times now, and so he should be quite fine to be able to come down again and onto the ground. But isn't that cool? You can see there's still, like I say, a lot on that particular Impala. There's a bit of the stomach that we were talking about earlier. I think even some of the kidneys might still be attached to that, so if you're a bit squeamish, I do apologize. Maybe best not to look at it at the moment. And you'll find that those will be kind of parts that he will eat. I am of the firm belief that she had a fetus, and that's why his stomach is as full as it is, because he would have eaten a quite well developed fetus by now. You must remember that the impalas will be giving birth late November, and so that fetus will be big, and so if he eats that, he would have been quite sort of full already from just that. And given that there's still stomach content in this particular impala, the back legs are still okay, I don't think he ate too much of this to have the bump that he's got. And we know that when he arrived at the pan yesterday, he didn't have a massively full stomach. What are you doing, Hosana? Now it almost looks as though he's kind of eaten too much from the midriff, and it's actually sort of pulling apart a little bit, and that's why he's trying to just get it into a slightly better place. And now you can see him plucking the fur, so he's using his front teeth, which goes back to what we were saying earlier. If they do eat the fur, it's not really what they want to eat. They can get digested and get rid of it, but they'll try and pluck most of it off first. So Alex, yes, they will eat the brain. They will crush the skull and try and get to the brain. It depends on the size of the animal, obviously. Some antelope species have got much smaller skulls, which are easier for a leopard to get into, whereas bigger animals, something like a nyala, would probably be a bit difficult for them to get to the brain, and they wouldn't be able to. But yes, if they can crack that skull open, they definitely will eat the brains itself. Right, now while Hosana has got himself a meal, it sounds like Thandi is still trying to find a meal of her own. So let's go across to Sydney and see how she's going.